Breton (ɓrɛtən) or IPA in Morbihan is a Celtic language spoken in Brittany, France. Breton is a Brythonic language brought from Great Britain to Armorica by migrating Britons during the early Middle Ages. It is thus an insular, Celtic language, and as such not closely related to the Continental Celtic Gaulish language which had been spoken in pre-Roman Gaul. Breton is most closely related to Cornish, both being Southwestern Brittonic languages. Welsh and the extinct Cumbric are the more distantly related Brittonic languages. The other regional language of Brittany, Gallo, is a langue d'oil. Gallo is consequently close to French, although not mutually intelligible, and a Romance language descended from Latin, having declined from more than 1 million speakers around 1950 to about 200,000 in the first decade of the 21st century. Breton is classified as severely endangered by the UNESCO Atlas of the World's Languages in Danger. However, the number of children attending bilingual classes has risen 33% between 2006 and 2012 to 14,709. History and status. Breton is spoken in West Brittany, roughly to the west of a line linking Plough and La Roche-Bernard. It comes from a Brittonic language community that once extended from Great Britain to Armorica and had even established a toehold in Galicia. Old Breton is attested from the 9th century. It was the language of the upper classes until the 12th century, after which it became the language of commoners in Lower Brittany. The nobility, followed by the bourgeoisie, adopted French. The written language of the Duchy of Brittany was Latin, switching to French in the 15th century. There exists a limited tradition of Breton literature. Some Old Breton vocabulary remains in the present day as philosophical and scientific terms in modern Breton. The French monarchy was not concerned with the minority languages of France spoken by the lower classes, and required the use of French for government business as part of its policy of national unity. During the French Revolution, the government introduced policies favoring French over the regional languages, which it pejoratively referred to as patois. The revolutionaries assumed that reactionary and monarchist forces preferred regional languages to try to keep the peasant masses underinformed. In 1794, Bertrand Barrère submitted his report on the patois to the Committee of Public Safety, in which he said that federalism and superstition speak Breton. Since the 19th century, under the Third, Fourth and Fifth Republics, the government has attempted to stamp out minority languages, including Breton, in state schools, in an effort to build a national culture. Teachers humiliated students for using the regional languages, and such practices prevailed until the late 1960s. In the early 21st century, due to the political centralization of France, the influence of the media, and the increasing mobility of people, only about 200,000 people can speak Breton, a dramatic decline from more than 1 million in 1950. The majority of today's speakers are more than 60 years old, and Breton is now classified as an endangered language. At the beginning of the 20th century, half of the population of Lower Brittany knew only Breton, the other half were bilingual. By 1950, there were only 100,000 monolingual Bretons, and this rapid decline has continued, with likely no monolingual speakers left today. A statistical survey in 1997 found around 300,000 speakers in Brythonic, of whom about 190,000 were aged 60 or older. Few 15 to 19-year-olds spoke Breton. Revival efforts. In 1925, Professor Ro Parziman founded the Breton Language Review Gaulish. During its 19-year run, Gaulish tried to raise the language to the level of a great international language. Its publication encouraged the creation of original literature in all genres, and proposed Breton translations of internationally recognized foreign works. In 1946, Al-Liam replaced Gwalen. Other Breton language periodicals have been published, which established a fairly large body of literature for a minority language. In 1977, Devon schools were founded to teach Breton by immersion. They taught a few thousand young people from elementary school to high school. See the education section for more information. The Asterix comic series has been translated into Breton. According to the comic, the Gaulish village where Asterix lives is in the Armorica Peninsula, which is now Brittany. Some other popular comics have also been translated into Breton, including The Adventures of Tintin, Spirou's Titaf, Hagar the Horrible, Peanuts and Yakari. Some original media are created in Breton. The sitcom Ken Touch is in Breton. Radio Kern, broadcasting from Finisterre, has exclusively Breton programming. Some movies and TV series have also been translated and broadcast in Breton. Poets, linguists, and writers who have written in Breton, including Jan Berkalik, Ropaz Heman, Angela Duval, Jacques Helios and Ewan Gwernig, are now known internationally. Today, Breton is the only living Celtic language that is not recognized by national government as an official or regional language. The French state refuses to change the second article of the Constitution, which establishes that the language of the Republic is French. Quote, "Although Breton was long the Celtic language with the highest number of speakers, it is now endangered." The first Breton dictionary, the Catholicon, was also the first French dictionary. Edited by Jehan Lagadec in 1464, it was a trilingual work containing Breton, French and Latin. Today bilingual dictionaries have been published for Breton and languages including English, Dutch, German, Spanish and Welsh. A new generation is determined to gain international recognition for Breton. The monolingual dictionary, Geriadur Breton here, defines Breton words in Breton. The first edition contained about 10,000 words, and the second edition of 2001 contains 20,000 words. In the early 21st century, the Office Breton began a campaign to encourage daily use of Breton in the region by both businesses and local communes. Efforts include installing bilingual signs and posters for regional events, as well as encouraging the use of the Spilhenig to let speakers identify each other. The office also started an internationalization and localization policy, asking Google, Firefox and SPIP to develop their interfaces in Breton. In 2004, the Breton Wikipedia started, which now counts more than 50,000 articles. On March 2007, the Office Breton signed a tripartite agreement with Regional Council of Brittany and Microsoft for the consideration of the Breton language in Microsoft products. In October 2014, Facebook added Breton as one of its 121 languages. After 3 years of talks between the OFIs and the American giant, Geographic Distribution and Dialects, Breton is spoken mainly in Lower Brittany, but also in a more dispersed way in Upper Brittany, and in areas around the world that have Breton immigrants. The 4 traditional dialects of Breton correspond to medieval bishoprics rather than to linguistic divisions. They are Leonaic, Tregerig, Kerniveg, and Gwenadec. Guerandese was spoken up to the beginning of the 20th century in the region of Guerande and Bat-sur-Mer. There are no clear boundaries between the dialects because they form a dialect continuum, varying only slightly from one village to the next. Gwenadeg, however, is almost mutually unintelligible with most of the other dialects. Official status. Nation as noted, only French is an official language of France. Supporters of Breton and other minority languages continue to argue for the recognition, education in public schools and place in public life. Constitution. In July 2008, the legislature amended the French Constitution, adding Article 75 to 1. Les langues régionales appartiennent au patrimoine de la France. This acknowledged the significance of the languages. The government has not provided official recognition, or funds to support use of these languages. On the 27th of October 2015, the Senate rejected a draft law on ratification of the European Charter for Regional and Minority Languages, driving away the assumption of Congress for the adoption of the constitutional reform which would have given the value and legitimacy to regional languages such as Breton. Regional and departmental authorities use Breton to a very limited extent, for example in signage. Some bilingual signage has also been installed, such as street name signs in Breton towns. One station of the Rennes metro system has signs in both French and Breton. Under the French law known as Tuban, it is illegal for commercial signage to be in Breton alone. Signs must be bilingual or French only. Since commercial signage usually has limited physical space, most businesses have signs only in French. OFI's public Brythonic, the Breton language agency, was set up in 1999 by the Brittany region to promote and develop the daily use of Breton. It created the ʻbrɛtən campaign to encourage enterprises, organizations and communes to promote the use of Breton, for example by installing bilingual signage or translating the websites into Breton. Education. In the late 20th century, the French government considered incorporating the independent Breton language immersion schools into the state education system. This action was blocked by the French Constitutional Council based on the 1994 amendment to the Constitution that establishes French as the language of the Republic. Therefore, no other language may be used as a language of instruction in state schools. The Tuban law implemented the amendment, asserting that French is the language of public education. The Divan schools were founded in Brittany in 1977 to teach Breton by immersion. They taught a few thousand young people from elementary school to high school. They have gained fame owing to the high level of results in school exams. Breton language schools do not receive funding from the national government, though the Brittany region may fund them. Another teaching method is a bilingual approach by Dialects in the state schools. Created in 1979. Dihan was created in 1990 for bilingual education in the Catholic schools. Statistics in 2012, 14,709 pupils attended Divan, Dialects and Dihan schools. The number has increased yearly. Jean-Yves Le Drian, the president of the regional council, had a goal of 20,000 pupils by 2010, but is encouraged by the progress. In 2007, some 4,500 to 5,000 adults followed a Breton language course. The family transmission of Breton in 1999 is estimated to be 3%. Municipalities' other forms of education. In addition to bilingual education, the region has introduced the Breton language in primary education, mainly in the department of Finistère. These initiation sessions are generally 1 to 3 hours per week, and consist of songs and games. Schools in secondary education offer some courses of Breton. In 2010, nearly 5,000 students in Brittany were reported to be taking this option. Additionally, the University of Rennes too has a Breton language department offering courses in the language along with a master's degree in Breton and Celtic studies. Phonology. Vowels in Breton may be short or long. All unstressed vowels are short. Stressed vowels can be short or long. All vowels can also be nasalized, which is noted by appending an N letter after the base vowel, or by adding a combining tilde above the vowel, or more commonly by non-ambiguously appending an N letter after the base vowel. Diphthongs are I-A. Consonants * pronunciation of the letter R varies nowadays, is used in the French-influenced standard language and, generally speaking, in the central parts of Lower Brittany, whereas is the common realization in early Aquitaine and often in the Ovanatized dialect of central Morbihan, though in rapid speech mostly a tapped occurs. In the other regions of Tregor or even may be found. The voiced dental fricative is a conservative realization of the lenition of the consonants d and t, which is to be found in certain varieties of Ovanatized. It is commonly written z in the pure Unvan but can be transcribed with the digraph dd in dialectal writing. Take the phrase marzad for instance. Zad is the spirant mutation of the word tad in most dialects and the transcription in the pure Unvan, but would be written down as midi dad in certain vanatized dialects due to the unique pronunciation. It also occurs in the middle and end of words as a retainment of Middle Breton th or theta. Grammar, verbal aspect. As in English and the other Celtic languages, a variety of verbal constructions are available to express grammatical aspect. For example, showing a distinction between progressive and habitual actions, conjugated prepositions. As in other modern Celtic languages, Breton pronouns are fused into preceding prepositions to a sort of conjugated preposition. Below are some examples in Breton, Cornish, Welsh, Irish, Scottish Gaelic, and Manx, along with English translations. Note that in the examples above, the Gaelic languages use the preposition meaning at to show possession, whereas the Brittonic languages used with. The Gaelic languages, however, use the preposition with to express belong to. Note also that the above examples of Welsh are the formal written language. The order and preposition may differ slightly in colloquial Welsh. Initial consonant mutations. Breton has 4 initial consonant mutations. Though modern Breton lost the nasal mutation of Welsh, it also has a hard mutation, in which voice stops become voiceless, and a mixed mutation, which is a mixture of hard and soft mutations. Vocabulary. Some words that passed into French and into English. The English words dolmen and menhir have been borrowed from French, which took them from Breton. However, this is uncertain. For instance, menhir is pulven a menhir, may and sav in Breton. Dolmen is a misconstructed word. Some studies state that these words were borrowed from Cornish. Menhir can be directly translated from Welsh as long stone. The Cornish surnames Menhir, Minia and Manhir all derive from the Cornish men hyr, long stone, as does Tremenhir, settlement by the long stone. The French word baragouin is derived from Breton bara, bread, and guin, wine. The French word goéland is derived from Breton guelin, which shares the same root as English gull. Orthography. The first extant Breton texts, contained in the later manuscript, were written at the end of the 8th century, 50 years prior to the Strasbourg oaths, considered to be the earliest example of French. After centuries of orthography calqued on the French model, in the 1830s Jean-François Legonnadec created a modern phonetic system for the language. During the early years of the 20th century, a group of writers known as Mgleva Scrivenerian elaborated and reformed Legonnadec's system. They made it more suitable as a super-dialectal representation of the dialects of Cornouaille, Lyon and Tregor. This KLT orthography was established in 1911. At the same time, writers of the more divergent vanitized dialect developed a phonetic system also, based on that of Ligoniadec, following proposals made during the 1920s. The KLT and vanitized orthographies were merged in 1941 to create an orthographic system to represent all four dialects. This pure unvan orthography was significant for the inclusion of the ZH digraph, which represents a para in vanitized and corresponds to a Z in the KLT dialects. In 1955, François Falcon and the group Mglaobrice proposed a new orthography. It was designed to use a set of graphemes closer to the conventions of French. This orthography universitaire was given official recognition by the French authorities as the official orthography of Bratton in French education. It was opposed in the region and today is used only by the magazine Bratton and the publishing house Mglaobrice. Between 1971 and 1974, a new standard orthography was devised, the Eteranigel or interdialectale. This system is based on the derivation of the words. Today the majority of writers continue to use the pure unvan orthography, and it is the version taught in most Breton language schools. Alphabet Breton is written in the Latin script. Pure unvan, the most commonly used orthography, consists of the following letters: A, B, C, H, C, H, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, R, S, T, U, V, W, Y, Z. The circumflex, grave accent, tremor, and tilde appear on some letters. These diacritics are used in the following way: A, E, I, O, U, 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 N, C. Wikiversity. Introduction to Breton pronunciation. For an introduction to the Breton alphabet and pronunciation. Differences between Scolvrig and pure unvan. Both orthographies use the above alphabet, although eocut is used only in Scolvrig. Differences between the two systems are particularly noticeable in word endings. In pure unvan, final obstruents, which are devoiced in absolute final position and voiced in sandy before voiced sounds, are represented by a grapheme that indicates a voiceless sound. In OU they are written as voiced but represented as voiceless before suffixes. Brasok. In addition, pure unvan maintains the KLT convention, which distinguishes noun-adjective pairs by nouns written with a final voiced consonant and adjectives with a voiceless one. No distinction is made in pronunciation, e.g., Brythonic Breton language versus Brythonic Bratton. Some examples of words in the different orthographies. Pronunciation of the Breton alphabet notes: vocative particle of Brittany, word initially, word finally, non-written lenition of ch, f, and spirantization of p and gtf. Unstressed vowels u, o are pronounced in Leoneg but in the other dialects. The pronunciation appears mainly in front of clusters lch, rch, before semivowels, before other clusters beginning with r, l, and before rr. Stressed long u, o are realized as in Gwenadeg velas are labialized, velas are palatalized when followed by e and I. K, G, KW, ku, CHW, Xiao, GW, go, with ow, SK2. Instead of also may appear. In Gwenadeg word final G and K is palatalized too after preceding I. But before a vowel other than I, the digraph N is written instead of GN, e.g., blenian to drive, radical BLEGN, 1 PS preterit blegnus, 3 PS preterit blenius. But mute in words such as ha, he, ho, hol, hon, hor, hol. silent in Gwenedig and Leoneg. I is realized as when it precedes or follows a vowel, but in words such as Leon, Liege, Rakdias as and the letter I is pronounced as. Group ILH is pronounced when it follows an vowel following a consonant. The group is pronounced, but before a vowel other than IL is written instead of ILH, G. Julian to follow, radical hoi, 1 ps preterit Julius, 3 ps preterit Julius. In some regions instead of may appear pronunciation. Word finally following a cluster of unvoiced consonants. In front of K. The digraph OW is realized same as the letter W when preceded or followed by a vowel, but in words such as do, do, go on the digraph OW is pronounced. The digraph OW marks plural ending. Its pronunciation varies throughout Brittany, rating geographically from northwest Lyon to southeast Gwent. The letter V is usually pronounced, but word finally is pronounced usually as or in KLT, as in Gwenedig and as in Gallo. The pronunciation is retained word finally in verbs. In words live, gwiscriv, GWIV, live, PIV, river V is pronounced in KLT, in Gwenedig and in Gallo. Word finally following RL, N, Z it is pronounced. But mute in words such as goas, bloas, goas, rosian, clies, rakdias and bezan, roajon, desan, couezan, z, Arizona, ez, daz, guiranes, anepuaranes, monies, false vonies, carantes, kengarantes, neves, nevesicianet, nadozio, abadias, gwez, bemdes, crisblaze, morvles, dij. Z is generally mute in Kernweg, Tregerig and Gwenedig, but in Leoneg Z is always pronounced. Used to distinguish words stir river, her town from stir sense, her bold, deer. Used to distinguish trode circuit, tour from trode foot. In northern dialects, there is a tendency to voice ch between vowels. Pronunciation appears also in forms of lenition of g, ch and mixed mutation of g. Spirantization of t and gt, z. Pronunciation of r varies in Brittany. Nowadays uvula is a standard. In Leonegon is pronounced. In Tregerig or. In Kernaveg are most common. In Gwenedig or occur. In Gwenedig unstressed often. Lenited varieties of RL, N may appear word initially in case of soft mutation. In Leoneg in front of a nasal. In Leoneg W in front of E, I. In Leoneg Z in front of I. In Leoneg GWR. Before a vowel. Forms of the indefinite article. A highly conservative realization of the initial mutation of D and T, used in certain parts of the Vans country. Examples: Lord's Prayer Hontad, CHWI Hagazo and NDNV, Ravo Santalid HOCHANV, Razur Oho Ruantiles, Ravo Grare Ho Yul Warn Dua Evil NNENV, Roitum Hiziv Bara Hor Bevans. Distrolet dempondi elio evilum horbo aves distorale don delorian, hanon lesit ket davont gantant temptada, met hon jubiti us and drow. Words and phrases in Breton. Visitors to Brittany may encounter words and phrases such as the following. Language comparison.